Good evening and welcome to a very special programme here on BORadiO, especially in that it's not really a radio programme, but as close to a TV broadcast as we can ever do. Look, you can see his faces, or you can't because actually we're not live. We were supposed to be streaming this, but for whatever technical gremlins, we're now just recording it. So hopefully you'll see it. It might never make the light of day. Who knows? I'm going to start off by introducing our expert panel, who tonight are going to be dissecting the season that never was. First up, I'm delighted to announce we have, sitting in his booster seat over there so that you can see over the table, his former Cov City sensation and Tim Winkle midfield maestro, Devon Kelly-Evans. You right, Dev?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good? You enjoying the lockdown life?
As best as I can.
As best as you can. Well, that's all any of us can do, isn't it?
Exactly.
Along with Dev, we've got the man who apparently will be hoping he's putting money in the meter to keep the Wi-Fi going. I'll be honest, I was just surprised to hear they had Wi-Fi in the Black Country. It's Ryan Edmunds.
How you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, pal.
Excellent stuff. And finally, making up the third of our holy trinity of Boro players, we have the man who's been putting the kettle on all season, scoring for fun, and no doubt will be dining out on his overhead volley that formed part of his hat-trick against Boro for quite some time. It's Joel Kettle.
Good evening. Good evening.
How you doing, Joel?
I'm not very not very well. I'm doing very well actually.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, doing well. Chilling.
And how's lockdown life going for you?
It's been okay. I'm actually isolating on my own at the moment due to a few personal reasons with the missus. So bachelor life, just working, exercising, and drinking beer, like most people really.
And you've given yourself, I understand, a unique sort of form of lockdown haircut.
Yeah, just mastered this little this skin no fade here. So we went from 0 straight into a 4. But yeah, it'll do for a few weeks.
What was the technique you were just saying you used on that? Gaffer tape?
Yeah, so I originally went for an elastic band, couldn't find one, so I just had to put a gaffer tape and then just use the line of the tape just to line it all up and then, yeah, just blend it all in.
I mean, that's the sort of resourcefulness you want from your captain, isn't it? You know, that you can make anything out of nothing. Joining us from the non-playing side, it's the voice of BORadiO himself. He's not even there. Where the fuck has he gone? Oh, there he is. It's Owen Jephcote, the irrepressible Owen Jephcote, whose presence here means that I'm unlikely to be able to say minge or anything like that. And at that point, there goes Lord of the Manor from the audience, which is a great thing. And finally, as part of BORadio's commitment to giving opportunities to all, we've got a young lad in today, shadowing Owen on work experience. You might have heard him do bits and bobs on local tin pot radio, where he most notably commentated on a bizarre incident at Cambridge, which saw Captain Gaz Dean fist the crowd. It is Dave Sharpe.
How you doing?
How you doing, Dave?
Do you want to explain that, fisting the crowd?
You're the one who said he was fisting the crowd. I think you should explain it.
Tuesday night, wet, horrible evening, not expected to beat Cambridge away. I think we won 3-1. The travelling crowd were behind the goal, and Gaz Dean, the skipper, went up and went like this. But in my excitement in doing the radio commentary, and you were co-commentating that night, live on BBC Radio, I said Gaz goes over to the crowd and gives them a fisting. And
he did. As captain yourself, Joel, have you ever been tempted to fist the crowd or any of your teammates?
No, probably had a few thrown my way, but I've never fisted the crowd.
There's always time, isn't there? So these are weird times. So thank you very much all for taking the time out from your lives. I mean, I'm sure you've got places to be tonight. Perhaps your living room, perhaps your kitchen. But thanks for taking the time out to talk to the Boro faithful about the season that never was. For footballers, is there anything that you're doing in lockdown to keep yourselves in condition, or is condition something that you just always in?
I'll go first. I'm actually probably fitter than probably what I was in the season. I've lost about 8 pounds already. Just with the extra time on my hands, I'm just probably training 2 or 3 times some days. And yeah, with the extra time, just doing a lot more cardio and a lot more. I'm into CrossFit at the moment. So yeah, so probably, like I say, 8 pounds down from what I was weighing at the start of the season. So yeah. Exercise.
Is the missus not there playing into that as well? In that she's not there to cook for you and you're starving yourself to death?
Nah, to be fair, I when I was a younger lad, I was quite into my fitness and stuff. Eddie approached me on the shores of Ibiza, the stick popping in the nightclubs and stuff like that, and in Ocean Beach. So yeah, I've just gone back to basics, just prep meals, just your chicken, rice and veg, that kind of thing. Just doing it in bulk, making it easier for myself. So Yeah. I'm actually thriving in the environment, to be fair.
Yeah, spot on. Eddie, Dev, any tips yourselves?
There's been this challenge going around on social media, which is like you've won 5k, donate 5k, and nominate 5 people. And me and my missus got nominated for that from a few of our mates, and we've tried to stick to it. So we've done a few 5k runs. We were meant to go on one today, but I kind of overslept, so that went out the window. But yeah, mate, just trying to keep myself ticking over. Really, got a few weights in the garden now. Trying to keep myself in shape and trying to eat healthy as well. Yeah.
Top man, and Dev, the other two have been doing it. Are you going to be the one who lets the side down?
No, I've been doing it at least 4 times a week, bit of exercise. But, if it's not going out for a run, it's going out for a walk. It's just keeping yourself busy. You can't stay in all day, every day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's half the thing, isn't it? It's the physical side of it as well, but the mental side, getting out and doing things, it stops you going a bit mental.
Yeah, I think it's tough for a lot of people. Some people might not have a game console or, X, Y, and Z. So I think it's important just to go out. It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get some fresh air in you and, don't sit home all day because it can send you a bit crazy.
Absolutely. Moving on to Owen and Dave. As fans, coming off the back of last year, let's now sort of get into the season itself. What were your expectations as fans? We'd had an absolutely appalling year last year. A summer of rebuilding. Where did you think this club was going to be? I'll start with Dave.
Well, interestingly, I sort of hosted a meeting of potential sponsors before Jimmy stepped forward and before anything was sorted. It was the Smurthwaite area, you might remember.
I do remember.
And I tried to get some Nuneaton people together to see if there was a way that we could move forward. And most people said there's too much debt in the club. There's no way they would get involved. They'd rather see the club fold and reform, and then they might get behind it. There was too much uncertainty about the ground and the ownership. And so after that all happened, and then Jimmy came in, it was a bit of a relief, to be honest, just to have some stability and just to have a little club to celebrate. And for me, it was more about the fact that you could get a team on the pitch, get a crowd in the ground, and start the season, which we did. And from there on, see where it took us. I had no expectations on the playing side. When I started to see some of the players Jimmy was signing, I thought, this might be a bit interesting.
Yeah, and I think that echoes a lot of sentiments. It was a relief, really, wasn't it, to have a team back? But some of the names we were bringing in, some of the names we were keeping on, they were good. Owen, as one of our younger fans, obviously, this is probably your first experience of the boom and bust cycle that seems to happen quite regularly down at the Boro. What was it like for you going into a season, perhaps with some optimism for the first time in a long time?
Yeah, so for ages, me and my dad had said that we would like Jimmy to come in as manager. It doesn't seem that way. Yeah, like Jimmy to come in as manager because we thought, given the way that given the name that he has and the sort of stature that he's built in the region of Nuneaton, then it sort of might bring people on board and, we might get some money behind us. But I did an interview with Jimmy towards the end of last season that's on the YouTube channel where I just sat down with him and asked him a load of questions. And right at the end, Jimmy asked me a question on about where would I like to see us finish next season. And my response to that was, to be honest, in an ideal world, I'd like us to go straight back up. But after we found out that we were definitely going down, I went and had a look at some of the teams that were in that division, and I came to the conclusion that it was going to be tough. Though even like the players we were bringing in, I still thought this might be a little bit tricky for us to go straight back up, sort of thing.
Absolutely. And apologies there if anyone lost anything that Owen was saying. I think we've discovered why we can't do an outside broadcast. It might be your internet, Owen. We'll move on quickly. Dev, Ryan, you guys have been there the season before, and I'm sure from a professional point of view, that's the season you guys really, really wanted to set straight, because it kind of been fun going out there and being on the end of some of the results that we went through. So was there a lot of sort of professional pride coming into this season saying we want to put this right? No, that's for Dev already.
Sorry, mate. Yeah. Yeah, being from the season before, like you said, that was a really, really bad season. Like, I enjoyed myself in like the October, November, and when we come into what we come into, it's just a case of getting a group of lads together who will stick together, and the outcome was inevitable, really. But like you said, when you see the lads that the gaffer signed in the summer, you have high expectations, and playing in that league that we've gone into, you do think we've underachieved. It's difficult, really, because when you see someone come down, you're not automatically going to go back up, and everyone thinks that because you've come down and you're a big club, you should be going back up. And as simple as that, football, and as simple as that. So yeah, as a group, I think we have underachieved, but it could have been a lot worse, but it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. And Dev, anything to add? Would you agree with what Eddie said there?
Yeah, I agree with everything with Eddie. You know, we had very difficult circumstances last season. Yeah, they've improved a little bit, you know, but it's still been difficult. You know, to finish 3 points outside the playoffs, you'd think you'd take that. But, you know, looking in pre-season, you'd think we'd have a chance to be comfortably in the playoffs pushing for promotion. And, you know, certain results didn't go our way for different reasons, you know. And I think at the end of the day, you'd take that compared to what we went through last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about pre-season, it was a bit of a mixed bag. We got thumped a few times. Conversely, we were thumping a few teams. You know, on the other side, there was a lot of bedding in of new players as well, which was probably to be expected given the way the season before had gone. But did that make it a strange pre-season for you guys?
For me personally, no, because, you know, mostly the other teams are going through the same thing as us. You know, they've got new players and new squad. You know, but for pre-season, it's all about fitness. So it doesn't matter who goes out there and whatnot. Players come and go. That's part and parcel of non-league. You know, we took a few thumpings, and we gave a few thumpings, but that's just, you know, pre-season. You can't look too much into it and to the results and whatnot. You know, that's my opinion.
Yeah. And Joel, you of course you played a couple of times at the start of pre-season, but then you didn't make your first team debut until the Needham Market game, which of course brought with it the first clean sheet of the season. That down to you?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah, I made a little bit of a joke in the group chat with the lads. I put like a Jesus gif and then superimposed my face on it, and then me coming and giving 3 points and a clean sheet kind of thing. That the saviours arrived. But yeah, pre-season started okay. I mean, as Dev says, it's just about getting the minutes under your belt, playing as much games as you can. I felt personally, for me, I was a little bit overexposed because I played 90 minutes in the first game, 90 minutes in the second game, and then towards the end of the second game, that's inevitably when I got my groin injury, from which what I believe is probably playing a bit too much football at the start of pre-season.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then obviously as you just said, I didn't make a return, and then until Needham Market, which was a massive relief, and then obviously to get the result and then a clean sheet, just as I say, probably just cements my little input it back and makes me feel a bit more creditable that I'm inputting into the team, kind of thing.
So what went wrong the next game when we hit 5? Was that your fault?
Yeah, I was too tired. Yeah, too tired.
You're also the only person here who wasn't involved in the club last year. When you joined the club, what did you know about what the club had been through? Not just that season, but the season before. Did you know much about the situation at the Boro?
If I'm being honest, I'd heard the horror stories, and I'll say that kindly. I heard that there was all sorts of things going on. There was obviously debts, this, that, and the other players not being paid, etc., etc., etc. But I'm a local lad. I'm aware of how big of a club Nuneaton are, and obviously it was a shame. So obviously, when you're a football player, everyone just thinks you play your game, you go home, but you're always not. You've got friends elsewhere. You keep an eye on other teams' results and stuff like that. So I knew a few players at the Boro, obviously last season, the season before, and stuff like that. So when you do see, and then you hear about all the negatives going on, I say with the money situation and stuff, and then you see what Jimmy's done, and you kind of feel encouraged by it. You know what I mean? You kind of think, well, fair play. He's gone and done it off his own back, and then that's inevitably why I wanted to get involved. And I saw the passion from Jimmy. I saw that he was willing to do a lot for Nuneaton, and so it's amazing, really, what he's done for the club, which is provide a little bit of stability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, stability is definitely the watchword of the year. I mean, given what are we talking now, Dave? Owen, 4 or 5 years of mismanagement, would we say, from different parties? At least.
God, how many managers have we had in the last couple of years?
I was thinking more of the people whose hands were on the coffers as opposed to the people picking the team. But
just thinking about
I mean,
both sides of things, like on the pitch and off the pitch. Would you class the amount of management that have come in, different management teams? Would that have affected anything? And then there was always the nobody really knew who was in charge of the club overall. Was it Ian Neal? Was it somebody else? Nobody really knew who was in charge. So who was making all the decisions and whatnot?
Yeah. Talking about going back to the football side of things, Dave and Owen, those early games, let's be honest, they were a mixed bag. What was the reaction from the fans that you were talking to? Dave, I mean, you get around the ground, you chat with a lot of people. What were you hearing from fans at the start of the season? Were their expectations being met? What was the vibe?
Do you know, a lot of the people I was speaking to were wondering what sort of style of football that Jimmy would play, and would it be, it's kind of an unfair comment, and I'm not sure that I agree with it. Would it be just Barwell at a bigger club? And I don't really know what that meant, because I never really watched Barwell before. I'd seen Jimmy when he was manager at Atherstone. So what I did know was that his side would never, ever give less than 100%. They would be committed. They'd get stuck in. It might be a little bit old school. So given that Nuneaton have got a big, beautiful pitch, that they've got some talented players, I was interested to see how he would work with them. And, of course, he brings his coaches in as well. So first couple of games, I've got to be honest, I was disappointed that first home game and the 3-0 loss, because we started quite well in that game, and I thought this is going to be great. We've got some talented players. We've got players, not just saying this, but players that at that level ought to have been really excelling. And that first game, 3-0, I just thought, wow, welcome to reality, And
that was a strange game, wasn't it? Of course, marked by the freak goal that Cam Belford conceded. Of course, he learned the lesson from that game and only conceded. Did he concede 2 more goals from inside the opposition's half this season, or just the one when he was at FC United? Yeah,
he's conceded some howlers, but he's also capable of making some brilliant saves. He's a great lad, and I know that he was popular in the team. He just went through one of those patches, and moving to another club did him good. It clearly did, because FC are doing really well, So it took a while for the team to settle down. There were a couple of things that, I couldn't quite work out why Devon didn't get many starts, given his quality. And so it took a while for me and the fans to kind of work out how we were going to bed in.
Did it remind you perhaps then, Dave, somewhat of the first season after Reformation in 2009, when Town was born? Horrible T word. When we were having those bad results against teams like Marlow, losing at home 4-2 to Marlow, but still finally managed to eke out the season. Did you have that same sort of hope this year that we'd finally get it right and squeeze our way through?
Definitely, because, it does take time for players to bed in and adjust to that level. People think, as has been said before, that you would drop down to that level and instantly be the best team in the league, and we know it doesn't happen like that. You go back to that reformation of the club. We were awful for many games. There were calls for Kev Wilkin to be sacked as manager, and look what he achieved after that. So I would have been one of them. Yeah, well, and he was struggling, but he got it right, and we know what happened after that. And so I was prepared to see what happened. The thing that I didn't enjoy, sounds awful, but the lads will understand. When you go into clubs like York City and Kidderminster Harriers, no disrespect, but some of the places we were going and losing. Dev mentioned St Ives. That was really hard to take for me as a fan and a pundit.
Yeah, and talk, back to the players there, all three. Those early games, they were a bit hit and miss. We had some great results. For example, winning 4-0 at home against Stourbridge. Did you feel that sooner or later this is going to click? We have got the basis of the squad here to then kick on. Were you guys always confident that it was going to come good?
Yeah, I think I personally do, because the game at St Ives, I think we must have had 20, 25 shots. So some of it, you look back and it goes down to luck, but on the other hand, conceding goals that we did, that weren't down to them being better them being a better team. It was just stupid mistakes on our part. Like the goals we were giving out were so silly, and they could have been easily avoidable. But so I think sometimes we just need to get back down to basics. And as a team, we never did that. As soon as one goal went in, it's like we struggled and went into this mind frame like, oh no, it's happening again, and we just never could get out of that until obviously then you had that Bromsgrove game away.
Yeah, and the away form, I mean, a lot was made of that, and I don't think we can't not talk about it. Home and away, they were completely separate entities. As players, what is the impact of playing away? Does it have an effect on you, or is it just another game that is just one of those unexplainables that it just seems that shit happens when you play away?
For me, I think at this level, step 3, especially with the league going a lot more central, it's not like, for example, if you're going from in the National League, you're going from Gateshead down to Torquay or something like that. Like that's a long day or a long day. There's no like travel implications. So travelling away, there isn't really any real excuse. You know what I mean? But the only thing that I'd probably say is which differed from our home form to our away is probably at home we probably felt a bit more pressure, and I think the team sometimes played better under pressure, and obviously being at home with the fans and stuff like that when they did get behind and we were doing well, I just think it just really got the lads wind in the sails, and I think they just thrived on that kind of thing. But we're away, as you say, St Ives, we're knocking on the door, nothing's happening. We're like, oh, sucker punch goal, and you're almost just like, you can't take teams for granted in that league. You know what I mean? You go to your St Ives and they're just going to sit there, and then they're going to try and hit you on the counter. You're going to go to your Hitchins, your Leastons, and they're just going to hold on for dear life. Where I think if a team comes out and attacks against us and we back ourselves to beat them, like for example Stourbridge at home, they played a lot of expansive football, and then once we just punish them. But when you go to somewhere like St Ives or Leaston, they're just banged up, and you've got to try and break them down. And when you don't, I think it become a little bit demoralising for us when we was playing away. Yeah, absolutely. Dev, obviously you've played in the Football League. I don't think you have, Joel. I'm pretty sure you haven't, Eddie. But in the Football League and the professional game, the away days, is it more impactful at this level or in the professional game?
I think it's the same at every level, really. The away day, it's, everyone needs 3 points at the end of the day. To be a successful team, you need to have a good... you need to have a good away run to be a successful team and get into the playoffs. So I think it counts at every level, not just non-league and downwards. I think it's at every level, but it also helps with the support as well. In the Football League, you get a lot of clubs who do take a good away following, so that can push the boys on. But obviously at the lower league levels, you don't get that.
Now, we've just mentioned the Stourbridge game, and it was, if we're going to talk about one game early on in the season where you boys can lay down your intentions for the year, that was the game, wasn't it? And you delivered in quite a spectacular fashion. Would you say that was probably the highlight of the season?
I think it was one of the probably eye-catching performances. I remember playing the game, and I think Stourbridge had a few chances early on. And as I say, when you have that luck and they miss those chances and they don't go in, you kind of think, all right, then well, today's our day, let us have a go. And then obviously when we were having a go, we were scoring, we were hitting them on the counter-attack, we were scoring from set pieces, everyone was chipping in with goals. And then all of a sudden, as you say, and then with the fans at home, once they're bellowing, they're singing, they're cheering, you just feel 10 out of 10. So that just drives you on just to see the game, man.
And in that game, Luke Bembo was playing against his old club, scored 2 goals, which is always nice to see a new signing scoring against his old club. His early form was more than encouraging, but as the season went on, he seemed to find himself suffering from injuries. A couple of rumours going around the terraces. Dave, Owen, we've had some excellent forwards down at the Boro over the years. I don't want you to make the comparison between Luke Bembo and some of those players. I don't think that's fair on Luke at all, because there's a whole history of different players. But what I want to ask is, how important, as part of the Boro's identity, do you think it is to have that sort of talismanic striker? And I don't mean necessarily somebody who's banging in the goals like a Paul Culpin or a Rob Straw, but somebody who leads the line like an Andy Brown, or is full of passion and grit like an Ian Druitt. We've had this rich history of great number 9s and 10s. Is that really part of the identity of this club?
Well, it is for me. I mean, I've been watching them since the 70s, so I remember the Turpey Vincent era. And one thing that defines the forwards, as you mentioned, there's one or two who've scored a lot of great goals. But I read somewhere that, I don't know, it was Gavin Peacock, I think, who was playing at Newcastle, and his dad said something like, the fans will forgive you a few mistakes if they can see that you'll die for the shirt. And there's been one or two Boro players who've not perhaps scored as many goals as they should, but they look like they really want to play for the club and die for the shirt. And I think Boro fans forgive that. So I'll give the example of Louis Moult. I think he went 19 games without scoring, but his contribution to the team was unbelievable. And he missed some chances. Dead say it, a bit like Dev. Dev's had loads of chances to score in the league. I mean, it just breaks my heart because I could see all the good work he's doing, and then the end product just won't go in. You know, it's a shame. Louis Moult was like that. Once he got one, he couldn't stop scoring, and he's now playing, you know, in the Championship. So
I think the Dev comparison's a bit unfair there, because Dev did get one, and that was it.
Yeah, and I missed it. I wasn't there.
Cup games don't count.
That's true. On Football Manager, that wouldn't be there. That wouldn't be in the records. Now, we can't talk about goal scoring feats without talking about Joel Kettle, can we? Joel, you got your first goal against Redditch, goal number 2 in the first away win of the season at Bromsgrove. You kept chipping in every now and again. Then all of a sudden, it all went a bit crazy with the goals, didn't it? You ended the season with being the third top scorer in the side. Is that always something that's been part of your game, or is that just one of these things this season?
I'd have to say, yeah. I mean, the past few years, I've probably played at a higher level of football, and the chances probably been a bit fewer far, and the number of goals been a bit lower. But yeah, I've had tallies I've actually equalled a 13. 13 was my best tally. 11. Obviously, again, this year's 12. I just always back myself when I ever go into the box. And then, as I say, when they started coming in thick and fast, they're just coming like buses. Whenever you don't need one, they come, and then as I say, then they all come at once. So, but it's one of those things. As a defender, you've got nothing to lose. You go up for a corner, and as I say, you can try and get on the end of something. But credit to people like, as I say, Eddie, Dev, and Sharpe and stuff. Sometimes they put it on a sixpence for you, and all you got to do is put your head on it. So, yeah, I am happy with that side of the game. I've seen scoring goals. He's not what I'm mainly there to do, or was my main input for the team. But to get them, and obviously they inevitably help the team, I'm obviously chuffed for it. And say to score 12, 13 goals in a season, it is fantastic.
Now, you've scored more than Eddie and Dev combined this season, and they're both attacking midfielders. Have you been giving them some hints and tips to try and sort that out for next season, or are they on their own?
I'm a fullback now.
Yeah.
Well, when you did play as a wing back, you did actually score against Russell in the cup, didn't you, Eddie?
Yeah. It's a decent goal, to be fair. I'm enjoying it there, but yeah, Joel's goals and what he's been doing for the club, like you said, are massive, mate. And that overhead kick he scored, it was the slowest overhead kick I've ever seen in my life, but we never heard the last of that, believe me.
I was going to say, when that goal went in, were you firstly thinking, yes, come on, and then secondly thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, we're going to be hearing about this for weeks?
Nah, to be fair, I was quite modest. I didn't really.
No pictures of Jesus this time.
No pictures of Jesus.
Pictures of Ronaldo.
Yeah, pictures of Ronaldo. But I wish I looked like Ronaldo. But yeah, I mean, with the overhead kick and stuff like that, actually, I've got a funny little story. Obviously, the ball popped up and whatever, and I remember like just standing there and looking to my right hand side, and there's Jack Byrne, and he just went, "Go on then, Joel." And I just looked at the ball, and I just the only way for me to make contact with the ball is to overhead kick it, unless I would try to backwards edit or something like that. But yeah, he's nice. And as I say, I've scored more goals than Dev and Eddie combined.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
And the overhead, is that the best goal you've scored?
It's up there. I've scored a couple of decent ones in my career, but it's up there. Yeah, for as I say, you're taking the mickey for the lack of technical ability, and it looks rubbish. But I'd like to see some of them two try an overhead kick. I think they'll end up in the stands or taking another light down like Tony Breeden.
Well, to be fair, Dev hasn't got as far to go to get over his head, so you know, he's got a little bit of a head start on you.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing as what Dave was saying. I mean, Dev, he does a lot on the ball and he gets in the boxes. I mean, if he could add, maybe you never know, it could happen for him next season, or this just could be an ugly. If he could add 10 goals to his game a season, as I say, I don't think he'd be in this league, or I don't think he'd even be in the shirt. You know what I mean? He'd be back in the Football League.
Yeah,
and for Eddie just thinks about kicking it too hard. He just thinks about it too hard. He don't worry about it.
He's still dining out on that goal in the FA Cup, isn't he?
Oh yeah, that's a
little moment of social media fame.
We're living off that all year, mate. Don't worry about that.
So one of the questions that has come up when we've been talking to the fan base, and it's sort of happened around this time, was the incident with Dale Belford. And we can't not talk about the alleged text that seemed to do the rounds. I don't want to go into too much detail because obviously Dale's not there to defend himself, so I'm not going to start casting blame or anything. But was a whole thing going on at that time that had an impact on the dressing room, and did things start to move in the right direction afterwards? That's as open as I can do it. That
I've done a lot of talking. What do you think, Dev?
We'll start with the text. I think, with Dale, he'll say what's on his mind. Depends which way you take it. I think it's just a bit light-hearted banter. I don't think anyone really took it that serious. I'd like to think they didn't anyway, but I think Joel and Jack Byrne, I think they handled it excellent really, because they know who they are at the end of the day. They know what type of people they are. So I didn't think it affected them one bit. But did it affect the games and whatnot? It's hard to tell. I don't think it did, because we still lost the games we should have lost, and we won the games we probably shouldn't have won. So that's my opinion on that stance.
No, it's fair. Dave, Owen, talking about the changes within the off the field team, do you think that has an impact? We often sort of talk about whether assistant managers have a big impact on the manager. Do you feel that Dale Belford had a big impact on Jimmy, especially given the situation that Jimmy found himself in with running the club both from a football and a chairman side? Was Dale an integral part, or do you feel that perhaps it was time to move on?
I think Dale's a big character. He's more used to being a manager than a number two, and I think that's really what he should be as a manager, where he can be his own man, give his instructions out, shout from the sidelines, pick his play. I think he was put in an unfortunate situation because, as you say, Jimmy, quite often on a match day, even though he requested to be left alone, he would be dragged all over the place to sort issues he should never have had to have been involved with. And of course, when he's out of the dressing room or off the pitch, then someone's got to take over. Comparing Dale to other number twos that Nuneaton have had, Ken Gillard, Mickey Moore, people like that, they were more sort of head coaches, people who would work on tactics and stuff on training. And I don't know what Dale did in training, because I've never been to a training session. They weren't really managers, where I think Dale, we know he's a manager because he's been one. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know whether that caused any confusion. I like Dale. I mean, I think you've got to know how to take him. His banter is really strong, and if you don't stand up to it, you'll crumble. You've got to really give as good as you get. But then again, if you're a player and you give it back, and as Dev says, and you think, hang on a minute, should I be saying this right now? Is this banter or is this being serious? And I don't know how you make the difference. It's easy for me sitting on the team bus having banter with him. I'm not playing for the shirt. So I don't know. I think you probably know more next season when the season kicks off, fresh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
God,
I mean,
it's all right.
Yeah.
Just going to add on to that. I was just wondering, with the players, did they find it any easier after Dale left? Because, of course, there was Dale, Tom Cherry and Rich Laverley. There was so many voices shouting instructions out. Did you, as players, find it easier when there was less? Because did you know who to listen to? Or was it all different instructions being shouted at you?
I think at the start of the season, like you said, we felt as if we had a few different instructions said to us on the pitch. and different players had been told different things by different coaches, and we made that aware to the coaching staff, to be fair. But after Balfe left, I don't think it divided the team, to be fair, because a lot of things were said in that text message which could have divided the team and isolated some of the players. I think, me personally, anyway, I think it brought the team closer together. So like Dev said, the way that the lads like Bernard and Joel handled it, with the next game, Joel was in the changing room, like speaking to the lads up on his own, telling the lads what's been said, and like, this is what Balfe's on about. Like, it's took it out of context, kind of. It could have gone one or two ways. The way it went, like I said, it pulled the team together, and I think it made the team bond stronger, to be fair.
Excellent. No, and that's. I mean, I interviewed Dale at the start of the season, and obviously, we all know the sort of character he is, and we all know he never pulls any punches, does he? And yeah, I think everyone wanted it to work, and it's unfortunate it didn't work. And I think we all wish him the best in whatever he does next. But like we have to, we all move on. Let's go back actually to the Birmingham Senior Cup run, because the season in the league, probably, if we're honest, it was starting to peter out, wasn't it? But the Birmingham Senior Cup, well, that was on, that was happening. We were going all the way. Dave, Owen, are you like me? The Birmingham Senior Cup, it really matters when we win it. Anyway, I mean, when we don't win it, it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. But when we do win it, that really matters.
Well, I'm not a big fan, but there have been some fantastic games in the Birmingham Senior Cup over the last couple of seasons, which the lads will know about, they've been involved with. I missed the Burton games both times, which is just unbelievable. I heard Wolves would have given Nuneaton a real test if we had ever got to play them. I was talking to guys at Leamington who said what a side they were. Doesn't mean to say the lads wouldn't go and beat them, because they come from 3-0 down against Burton. The thing I remember, I mean, when we went to Birmingham City last year to play Leamington, it's just a great night out, you know, and I sit in the media area and I'm imagining what it must be like to be working for Sky Sports and, you know, commentating on the big games, and you kind of think about, I don't know whether the lads think about that when they're on the pitch, thinking, you know what, I'll take this, I've arrived, I'm in a good stadium on a nice pitch, it's a nice night out, I want to win it. Makes a change from going to Needham Market.
Well, that's it. I mean, you say the thing that I think really matters, probably most of the players. It's a chance to win a competition, isn't it, lads? I mean, it might only be the Birmingham Senior Cup, but surely winning a cup, any cup, that means something to you boys.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the most realistic one that you're ever going to, that you've got the probably most chance of winning. If you think of the FA Cup, you probably...
Yeah, I don't think we're going to win that, Joel.
Yeah. And like, for teams at this level in non-league, the FA Cup final is probably the first round. If you can get to the first round, that's probably your that's your cup final in a sense.
Yeah.
And then the same with the trophy or the vase or whatever. You've got to really be on your mettle really to get into the late stage of that. So the Birmingham Senior Cup, it's a good competition. It's a competition where this year Jimmy's probably used a lot of the squad to get minutes, to get fit, to get more people, more players game time. But yeah, as you've mentioned, it's probably one of the most realistic opportunities that a club will get to give their fans a cup final, a day out at a professional club, and then the chance to obviously then lift the trophy. So yeah, I've always quite enjoyed the Birmingham Senior Cup. I've been to the final a few times, but yeah, it's a good competition.
And Dev, any thoughts from you boys?
I think, Joe, at the start of the season, the Birmingham Senior Cup and cups like that are games that you feel you could do without. When you've got Saturday, Tuesday, you feel you could do without it. There's nothing better than when you get to the semi-final or, you know what I mean, the later rounds, and you know you've got a chance to get into the final at a nice stadium, and like Joe said, it's there for the fans and everything. And our family, they all come and watch. It's a nice evening for them to come and watch play on a decent pitch. There's nothing better than that at the end of the season, to be fair. So I'm about it. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll just say what Joel and Andy already said, really. I'll just touch on last year for me, personally. I think, you know, the season was bad, not just for the players, the staff, the fans, really, you know, who had to watch that week in, week out. So I think it was nice for them in the day to get to a final. You know, it was at Birmingham, it was a good day out. You know, unfortunately, we didn't win the game, but it's nice to... I think it was nice for them. You know, it was nice for us as well, because we were losing most weeks. But when it comes to Birmingham, Birmingham Scenic Cup, somehow we were winning.
So almost like a blank slate last season, wasn't it? You know what I mean? You haven't got all the pressure of the league where you know it's over months in advance. The Birmingham Scenic Cup, you can go out and you can play for something, which you didn't have for the league, really, did you?
No, we didn't. And as well, you play against good teams. So you're playing against better players. It's always nice. It's a nice occasion. And I think, when it comes to them Birmingham Scenic Cup games, you can put the league behind you, for 90 minutes and just concentrate on winning this game, and that's what we did. We took a game at a time when we got to the final. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the league, of course, this season, I'm sure, for fans and players alike, was the main priority. Obviously, it's been called off. I'm really heartbroken for Tamworth, who were top of the league, that they won't be going up. Absolutely gutted. The Tamworth rivalry, though, I mean, let's be honest, it's never been as big as, for example, Atherstone and Bedworth to me. And it always felt like it mattered more to Tamworth than it did to the Boro. Certainly not on the scale that Leamington perhaps really want a rivalry with us in that sort of desperate, please haters sort of manner. Bless them. But I want to know if I'm alone on that. Owen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're there, that's right. You've just got a blue logo instead of a face.
Oh, have I? Oh, right.
I'm not saying that's better or worse. You're a youngster.
Yeah.
So you've never really had much to do with Bedworth or the Adders. Is Tamworth the rivalry for you?
Well, to be honest, I don't want to offend Joel here. No, Joel's not going to take offence from me. So basically, I think to me, Tamworth is the game, when we're in their league, Tamworth is the game I look forward to every single season. I mean, I think it was the first time this season that I'd actually gone to the Lamb to watch the game, and I think it's sort of a game where all of the fans come together because they know the stature of the game, really, to be honest, because we're not playing the likes of Bedworth and Atherstone. Tamworth is sort of our derby sort of thing, so you see fans all coming together. And I think, given the stand that we were in when we were at the Lamb, everybody was all really close, and just the voices from the Boro fans was able to will on the players, I think, and it was just nice. I remember Eddie, when we were having corner after corner after corner, just looking at the fans and just trying to will them all on and everything to keep going. And to me, that's something that I love about non-league, is the players interacting with the fans. And I think Tamworth is a way that can happen, because players know about the rivalry between the two, and so do the fans. So
and Sharpe, you're of a more mature vintage. Is that fair to say? What about you for rivalries? Tamworth?
No, when I started watching Nuneaton, it was Kettering and Burton Albion, and I mean, and that kicked off on the pitch and on the terraces. Literally, it was in the days of the football factory. It was frightening, Hereford was another one, but I remember Kettering being rivals. But when I left school, I went to work in a factory for 7 years, a big factory, 3,000 people locally in Nuneaton. And the rivalry then was certainly Atherstone, but Bedworth. You did not want to go to work on a Monday and mix with the lads from Bedworth if you'd lost to them on the Saturday. You were going to get slaughtered as a fan. Equally, if you've won it, you're going to go in there as a Boro fan and absolutely hammer them. Regarding Leamington, I live over in Leamington and Warwick. I've done for many, many years. I still regard myself as an Nuneaton boy. So I get a lot of stick when I'm out on the streets in Leamington. So they do want that north-south rivalry. We build that up a little bit on BBC commentary in Warwickshire as well. But only because there is no Bedworth Nuneaton or Atherstone Nuneaton derby to big up. So Tamworth, I always find that a bit of a weird day out, because there's always that stuff going on behind the dugout, which I don't get.
In what respect?
Well, I mean, the players all know. I mean, that there's a group of fans in there that stand behind the dugouts, and I can never hear it because I'm on the other side of the ground. But there's always tension behind the dugouts, for the away manager and the away players, and that happened this year, didn't it, with David Bramang? There's always something controversial, it's never just about the football. I don't know why.
Yeah, it does seem to be growing a little bit of an edge in the way it did. Joel, you've played for both clubs. You played for Tamworth against the Boro at Liberty Way. Does anyone remember the score that day?
Oh, sorry. Say it again. The volume went down.
I was just reminiscing on the time you played for Tamworth against the Boro at Liberty Way. trying to remember the score. 4. Somebody scored 4.
Sorry, signal's gone. I've got to go.
I mean, we're not going to talk about the return leg where you did win, but what is it like on the other side of the A5? Is it a big deal? Does it matter to Tamworth?
You definitely made aware of it, and you probably know it's coming up. I mean, like as I say, the beauty about non-league is you get to speak with fans and you get encounter with fans after the game. So yeah, in the build up to the game, that obviously when I had my time at Tamworth, they'd make it aware that you were on it and say, oh, we've got Nuneaton this week. But Nuneaton was actually one of my first games, and as I say, that's when speaking to Dale and to Jimmy about signing for Nuneaton. That's one of the things I've touched on because I remember that fondly. I remember it was one of my first games, and as I say, we were 4-0 down at half time. And
you remember that fondly?
Yeah, because I remember it because as a defender, when a goal goes in, you're pretty close to the goal. And at the time when the goals were going in, I think it was Chambers. I think Chambers scored.
Yeah.
And I remember being with my back to the Nuneaton fans, and they were roaring and they were making it like it was a hostile atmosphere. And as an away player coming there, you generally do feel like, oh God, they're making some noise. They are, that they're really on it today or whatever. So yeah, and as I say, 4-1 down, we had a rocket and we had a little bit of a comeback in the second half and made it 4-1. But yeah, that was that. I remember it purely, as I say, because of the noise. And I remember thinking, oh, these Nuneaton fans are up for it today. Like, because I was a new Tamworth player, I probably hadn't brought into the rivalry as much, but being the person that I am, I was fired up on that day. I remember giving people bollockings and stuff on that day, and people looking at me thinking, bloody hell, kid, it's only your third game for Tamworth, who do you think you are, kind of thing. But that's the person I am. But yeah, and on the flip side of it for Nuneaton this season, I didn't take part really in the first game. I came on for about 10, 15 minutes, and I think I was the best Boro player on the pitch when I come on. But the second, I say, looking as what Owen said, the Boro fans, they filled that whole stand behind the goal and all making some right ruckus and some right noise. And I say, it reminds me of the time that I played that one where we lost 4-1. So
did you not score against Tamworth?
I did, yeah. My mate Justin got one for me to tap in.
Did you celebrate?
I did celebrate, yeah. That's football. That's passion. I'm a passionate person, and I'm a Baggies fan. If I was playing for Wolves against Baggies, I'd probably celebrate it. I mean, I've never played for Wolves. Eddie, I'd never play
Eddie's
for
not
Wolves.
buying that, is he? He's not buying that at all.
I'd never play for Wolves. I think as a player, you owe it. For example, for me, I was a Nuneaton player. I'm going to give everything for Nuneaton. When I was at Tamworth Bay, I'll give everything to Tamworth. And when I was at Solihull, so for the fans, it's you owe it to them, kind of thing. We've just scored. We're getting a foothold in the game. If I don't celebrate, I turn around and make it look like I don't care. If I've just scored for the team, then it doesn't really do me justice or the team justice. So
spot on. Finally getting towards the end of this, lads. We're wrapping it up. It's working out in time nicely. Let's talk about what would have been. Obviously, we all know the situation we find ourselves in. The season has been cancelled, and we don't know whether there'll be a season next year or what's going to happen there. But where would we have ended up if the season had been played out to the fullest? I'll start with the players first and foremost. Where do you think we would have ended up, and does that meet your expectations?
Would have got in the playoffs and would have got promoted.
Eddie, I love you.
Nah, if you're looking on the season results, for us to get in the playoffs, I think we would have been extreme. We've like I said earlier, we've underachieved. We haven't performed well as a team consistently enough. So for us to get in the playoffs, like the gaffer kept saying to us, there's always one outsider that has a big push that no one expects, and they nick themselves into the playoffs. You'd hope it's you, obviously, but like Dev said earlier as well, I think we took for granted the teams that we didn't really know of, and the teams we knew of, we performed against. So it's one of them. It could have been, it might not have been. If we did, then you're over the moon. But if you didn't, you kind of expected we didn't really deserve it on our performances over the year. Yeah.
And Dev, would you agree with that then?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, in pre-season, if you would have told me this time in the season would be 3 points off the playoffs, I'd be a little bit disappointed, but not too disappointed because you're still in touching distance. Then it's down to us to try and get over the line. for me, I would have waited to see how we got on against Tamworth, Royston and Russell towards the end of the season. I think you take 6 points out of them 3 games, then you should be somewhere in the playoffs, but you got to deal with the games in between. I think this year we've played well against the good teams and, no disrespect to the other teams, the lesser teams, we haven't done well enough against, and they've took too many points off us. When you're looking to get into that top 6, you should be taking, 6 points off some of the teams we've lost to. So I think it's a fair remark for that time of the season, and I'd like to think we would have, kept put until the end of the playoffs.
And Joel, same question to you, mate. Where would you put
Do you know what? I was quite excited for the end of the season. I just think that we had a few of the teams that we were going to play. I think we had their cards marked. I think we put Hensford to the sword. We had them to play at home.
Yeah.
I truly believe we would have beat Tamworth at home. I just think that we've sussed them out. I think physically and with the set pieces and stuff like that we caused away from home, I think we would have probably beat them. So you look at the games that we were due to play. I think out of those games, I don't think we would have lost many. I don't think we would have lost many. And I just think with the people that we had in the dressing room, inconsistency, as I say, I'll echo the words of the lads. Inconsistency from us was just purely not good enough. On our off day, we just weren't good enough. We didn't pick up enough points, as I say, away from home. And do I think we deserve to be higher than what we were? Potentially not, but I think at this stage of the season, this is where it all gets exciting. It's just on the day. You've got loads of cup finals. You've got loads of games there where it's just going to be a shootout. There's going to be freak results. So yeah, just to recap, I thought we potentially probably would have got into the playoffs. I think we would have got onto the last spot of the playoffs, and then I don't think anyone would have wanted the playoffs in the playoffs in the semis, or if we would have got to the final.
Absolutely, Owen, Dave. It's the same question to you, really, but I'm probably going to get you guys to contextualise it a little bit more in the sense that, given everything that has happened over the last couple of years, almost the last decade, was this building up to be a successful season, especially given last year?
So I think from my point, I was saying to Jimmy a few times, given where we saw that we were towards the end of the season, I remember messaging Jimmy and just saying, do you think it's going to happen? Do you think we'll be able to get to the playoffs? And I remember him saying to me that it's going to definitely be a tall order, but I think we might be able to do it. But then slowly but surely, Jimmy was saying to me, I think, well, maybe I'd love to get to the playoffs, but is it the right thing this season? Is it right for us to go straight back up, or is it right for us to get to the playoffs and go up? Because would we be able to cope with it financially? So I think for me, getting to the playoffs, even if we went up or not going up, would have been a successful season for me. I remember at the start of the season, I said to my dad, I was sort of hoping this was going to be like a season of redemption, whether it was us going up, whether it was us going to the Birmingham Senior Cup final and winning it. I just thought maybe just doing better than we did last season would have been perfectly fine for me. Just having a club was fine for me.
Absolutely. Dave Sharpe, same question.
Yeah, we'd have all been in bed right now getting ready for Rushall tomorrow, which would have been a must-win game, which would have taken us into the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. We'll never know, will we? That would have been the scenario. For me, I think the killer was Redditch away, losing there. I started to believe that maybe we could put a run together and the side looked good, things were starting to happen, not with everybody. And then that defeat, I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I wasn't at the game and I was getting updates. I was due to go for the radio, and at the last minute, I was literally getting in the car, and they asked me to go to watch Leamington versus Southport. And I thought the Leamington fans were winding me up, saying, "Oh, Boro losing it already." I said, "Yeah, whatever. I'm used to this." No, they really are. And I thought that was a shame. I thought that if we'd have won there, it would have been very different. If we'd have got into the playoffs, I think Joel's right. I think momentum is massive. And although if we'd have sneaked in fifth place, we'd have been away, wouldn't we? We wouldn't. There's no home and away. We'd have taken a good 300 fans wherever we would have gone, at least. And if you end up at home in any of those games, particularly the final, I remember when Nuneaton played Chasetown, 3,000 in a playoff final in what was it, Central Division then, Midland League? I don't know.
Southern Central, 3,300 for that one.
Yeah, fantastic. What player wouldn't want to play in a playoff final like that with virtually everybody in the ground behind you. Take the point as well that I think financially and not just financially, but the way the club is being organised, I think it would have been too soon to go back up and another season without the debts, because there are still debts being paid off. With those debts paid off and some of those players gone who were on contracts, there's a lot to look forward to next year. I think it's next year's the one to look at if it ever starts.
Well, I mean, that's the next thing I'll get into. It is sort of churlish to talk about next season in many ways, because we really don't know if or when football is going to start again. So in the meantime, and I guess this is a question for everyone really, because we're all sort of involved in the club in different ways. What do the club do between now and whenever football starts again to stay alive, to stay relevant? What can clubs, not just the Boro, but any non-league club, do to keep itself going at this point?
I've seen a few clubs. They seem to be doing kind of challenges set by players and stuff like that, or trying to integrate through the social media and stuff like that. But as I say, it is very, very difficult because, as I say, no one has got an idea of even a guesstimate or even a target from where the season's going to start. If you're looking at footballing events and sporting events which have been cancelled up until July and stuff like that, so you're thinking the season surely can't start in August if sporting events are closed. I know obviously we're, as I say, a non-league team and probably the crowds are not going to be as high as those sporting events, but you just, at this time, everyone's just sitting on their hands, and as I say, for players, I can speak for myself and probably me, Eddie and Deb, you just trying to keep on top of yourself because you might just get the nod to say, okay, league's starting now, make sure you're on it, or pre-season's going to start in X, Y and Z. So it's a frustrating time probably for everyone all round, but until we have an idea of some kind of guesstimate or estimate on a start date, it's just, as I say, just going to be a long waiting game.
Any more, or are we all good? Everyone seems to be good.
Yeah.
I just want to
go on. I just think Joel I think he hit the nail on the head with that. It's a difficult time. Not just it's for every club at the minute. They don't know if they're coming or going. So, I just think interacting with the fans, keeping the players updated and whatnot, what's going on behind the scenes and keeping them involved. Really, I think that's a big thing. So they know where they stand in a way.
Although we're all passionate football people. Obviously, we wouldn't be here if it was. But at the end of the day, you got to think of what's going on in the country and in the world at the moment. There's a lot more important things going on. So, as I say, football took a back burner, and we're losing out and losing something that we're passionate in. But at the same time, as I say, there's more important things that matter. And once the country's back up and running and safe and everyone and all that kind of thing, the guidelines are being met, I think that's when people can have serious conversations about when it's going to get back up and running.
And I mean, this is probably a little bit more of a existential question in the sense of I'm talking on a bigger scheme here, which who would have thought I would say existential after
I was just wondering. I'll just look that up.
Sorry, no. In terms of
Eddie's lost, mate.
Football, yeah. We'll oh shit.
Eddie, Google that one, mate. Existential.
There we go. In terms of football as a whole, what is it going to look like when football returns? Are we going to have the same league structure? Are the clubs still there before, or is it going to be completely different?
I'm in the events industry, as many of you know, and my gut feeling is that nothing will happen this year because of the social distancing. And, you hope for the best, don't you? Hope that a vaccine's found or a cure. But with the social distancing, we're going to have to rethink all events, the way they're put on. So I host a lot of award dinners. Normally there's 8 to 10 to a table. It's going to be 4 to 6. When people queue at the bar, there's going to have to be 2 meters apart. How's that going to work?
They're not going to be able to put the keys in the pot again, are they, Dave?
No, and who's going to sit at a buffet? Who'd want to queue up at a buffet? Open food and things like. It sounds crazy, but Joel's right. There are more important things to think about. Can you imagine queuing at a turnstile for a football ground? The queue will be 5 mile long, and everybody arrives at 10 to 3 anyway. So I think there's going to have to be a real change in the way that we approach because it's not going to go straight back to normal. And it might be that if there's any football played at all next season, it's done in a different format, whether it's done in small little groups like the World Cup. You play 5 or 6 teams in a small little pod, and the top ones all play each other in another pod. I don't know, but I just can't see us getting back to that normality anytime soon. Call me pessimistic, but I've got my ear to the ground, and that's what I think. And I really feel for the fans and the lads, because as you've already said, right now we'd be looking forward to a game tomorrow, maybe the playoffs, buying our season tickets, choosing the new shirt for next season, looking forward to seeing who re-signs for the club, looking forward to the first friendly. And at the moment, I'm clapping for carers Thursday, and that's probably the most important thing, isn't it?
No, absolutely, Dave. It really is. We're getting to the end now, boys. We're going to start wrapping up. One thing I do want to say, Dave just mentioned about players returning to the club next season. This is more a message for the people watching back home to explain why I'm not going to ask the boys about whether they'll be returning next season, because I don't think it's fair to put the lads on the spot. Obviously, we've not got Jimmy involved in this conversation, so he can't put his side of it. And I don't think it's right to be asking lads what they're going to be doing with the season next year. So, whilst we'd all love all three of you to come back, we totally appreciate with the way the world is going at the minute, all three of you've got your own decisions to make in regards to what you do with your football careers. And I think I speak for all Boro fans, actually, when I say we could have picked a number of different Boro players, but we picked 3 Boro players here, Dave and Owen, who have put a shift in this year.
I was just thinking that. I think you're looking at 3 players who would have probably, and you can choose your own order, been 1, 2, 3 for player of the season. Because of what you've just said, I think you've got 3 of the lads there that have given a lot to the club. We've given us some great moments, terrific effort. I think they've seemed to have proudly played for the shirt. I don't hear any criticism from the fans about any of these 3 that are on the call tonight, and any one of them could have been player of the season comfortably. And I'm not just saying that.
We didn't actually get a player of the season vote, so if we were doing this live stream, I was going to put a poll up on the Boro chat group and get a player of the season vote going, but I've not been able to do that. So Owen and Dave, Stan, pick a player of the season. No pressure. There's 3 lads in front of you. Pick your favourite.
Wow.
13 goals, Owen. 13 goals.
Owen, remember that first interview I made you?
Wow. Wow. So this is a real tough one for me, to be honest.
No one's going to stick a name out, are they?
To be honest, I'll go ahead and do it. Right, I'm gonna
go on.
Right, so Ryan for me has just been an absolute legend throughout the last 2 seasons. Not being soppy or anything here, but the fact that Joel, I'll get to you in a minute, mate. The fact that I don't know, I was doing the Instagram for the club last season, and I just messaged Ryan when he came in, and then I don't know, just after games I was messaging him, he replied to me. That's outside of football, but I thought when Ryan came in, I saw something about his goal that he scored against Bromsgrove in the FA Cup, and the first couple of games I said to my dad, wow, he's going to be something special for the club, and he's proven that. I mean, especially given the fact that he's done sort of not as much as Mike Kelverley last season, but he's sort of dipped around a bit in terms of positions. He's moved from striker, winger, to fullback sort of thing. Just shows his versatility. Then going on to Joel. You're right, Joel. Other than the only downside to Joel is he used to play for Tamworth for me. But no,
Fair.
Joel, I mean, centre-back that can score goals. What else do you want? I mean, it's like Virgil van Dijk in the Premier League. Absolutely solid centre-half and can score goals as well. So makes him a great player. And I like, to be honest, I mean, when I play FIFA, I like to have my back line getting up and attacking. That's the sort of thing that appeals to me, like every player pushing forward and contributing to the game. But I have left my choice till last in Dev, because I think, I'm sorry to the other 2 boys, they were very, very close for me, but for me, Dev's got to be... Yeah, it's all right, just do a Bembo, just block me. No, I'm joking. No, to be honest, Dev for me, I said it every single game. I think people who I was doing the commentary with was fed up of hearing it. To me, Dev had just never seemed to put anything less than 110% into each game. I mean, like you said earlier, if he could have topped it off with a couple of goals, then yeah, but that would have made his season probably. But for me, Dev's just the effort he's put in every single game to me has made him my player of the season.
Sharpe, any thoughts? Are you gonna not actually fall into my trap? Are you gonna go for it? Hey?
I see something. It's line, but I see something in Ryan that is exciting. I think he's got the best first touch in the club. Bringing a ball down, with his head up. Fantastic. And a couple of the goals he scored, which I know probably some of the fans think they were crosses. They weren't. I've seen him shoot. They weren't crosses, were they?
No, mate,
some of those goals that you shoot across the goalkeeper, like you taught, lovely stuff. I see that because I don't know whether many Boro fans know, but, I'm an FA coach as well. And I see some quality there. Joel, he's the guy. I used to play left back when I was a player. I'd want him by me. I would trust him, both as a skipper, but somebody in that back line who I would want next to me. I would know he would win the ball. I would know he would organise me, encourage me. If he gave me a bollocking, I would know that I deserved it. And when he pushes forward, you think, get it on his head. He's a somebody who that in the box is going to cause some damage, and I would definitely want him in the trenches with me. Dev would be my player of the year. It reminded me this season, Dev, I don't know whether you think so too. When you came in on loan, I just thought, wow, here's an exciting player. You can tell he's played at a higher level. He's been around pro footballers. He knows how to train. And then the following season, it didn't really click. I think you were moved around in terms of positions. And then this year, you seem to really find your groove week in, week out. And if you had just topped it off with a couple of those shots that had gone in either side of the post, it would have almost been the perfect season. So I'd go with Dev.
Excellent. And I'm going to make the casting vote here because it's my show, it's my fucking idea. And I'm going to go for Chris Campbell. I want to have that conversation there. No, I mean all three of you boys. I'm not even going to go there. All three of you boys have been fantastic. The other guys have gone for Dev. I'd share it between you all. I'm not picking favourites. Right, let's wrap this up. We've got some questions from the audience. I've been on Facebook. Here we go. So let's get these nice and quick, and we can let you bog off and do whatever it was you were doing before. Don't tell us what it was. I really don't want to know. So let's start. The first question is the worst ground you played at this season and why? And obviously it was Tamworth. Because it's Tamworth. No, worst ground you played at this season, lads?
Worst ground I played at this season is probably St Ives away or Biggles Wade away. Both of them were shocking to play at. Biggles Wade looked like they just took the cows off the field. It was horrendous, dry, grass up to your knees. It was shocking. So for me, it's one of them two, yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Any advances on Biggles Wade?
Yeah, Biggles Wade was bad, but the worse the pitch, the better I play. So I don't like it. Get it on my head. So I had a good game at Biggles Wade.
I mean, if the grass was up to your knees, Eddie, I'm guessing, Dev, it was up to your chin.
Yeah.
Big boy can play on anything. You can play on anything.
10 men that game.
No, but for me, the biggest shock was St Ives Hitchin away.
Hitchin.
I think I turned up to St Ives and I thought, what am I doing here? Like, I've just never been or seen anything.
Was that because you just gone to the St Ives in Cornwall, not the St Ives in Cambridge?
I wish. No, I think it just took me by surprise, it's just one of them grounds this season I've been and just took me completely by surprise.
Can I just ask Devon something? Let me just ask Devon something. I don't know whether you played with Aaron Phillips at Cov, but he was playing for St Ives. I mean, week in, week out.
Of course he was. And he was good.
Yeah,
and he was good.
He was really good.
It was a shock to see Aaron Phillips there, because when he was at Cobb, he did make a lot of appearances. And, when he went to Northampton, and also he's making a lot of appearances. But I just think a few injuries, big injuries he's had. I don't know if he's got the same determination he has to get back up there. Just for me, I don't think he has. So it's disappointing to see someone with that potential drop down so low and not have the belief to get back up. So it was a surprise, but at the end of the day, they ain't got the right mentality. You're not going to get back up.
I mean, it's always been strange. I mean, talking of Aaron Phillips, I mean, he was a fullback we had in on loan from Cov, who I thought was brilliant. And another fullback who we had in on loan from Cov, who I thought was probably one of the worst players I've seen down the Boro, was Cyrus Christie, who's now a full international and played in the Premier League. So it just shows, doesn't it, when players come on loan that you don't always exactly see the true player, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought about it, like, especially being at non-league level, you always get these kids come out of pro ranks and they come on loan kind of thing, but they just haven't got the credentials or the characteristics or the physicalities to deal with non-league football. So they don't necessarily thrive. They just love to just, as you say, play under 23 football, pass it around uncontested, and then do their stuff. Whereas, I say, non-league football, you've got someone putting their arms over you, pushing you, shoving you, kicking you. So yeah, as players, and say you see different variations of people. You don't know their motivation for coming out on loan. You get someone come on loan from a pro club who's probably been sent out from the club, who doesn't want to leave the club. He's probably thinking, I want to be anywhere else but playing probably football for this non-league football club. So some people's motivations are different. As Des said, if you haven't got the motivation to play football to your best ability, no wonder whoever you're playing for, then people aren't going to see a true reflection probably of what your potential and your ability are. So,
yeah, I'm going to rattle through these questions because it looks like Eddie's getting henpecked to wind it up here.
No, I'm good.
No, you look like you want 5 minutes. 5 minutes to the miss.
No,
you're good, are you?
Missy said don't want another drink. I'm all right.
No,
he's under the thumb, maybe, is, yeah.
Is it? Is he whipped? Right, so...
Yeah, his missus wants to do a TikTok video, I think.
Sure, mate. Anything that gets more time on the PlayStation.
Nah,
Can we get a little preview, Eddie?
Shall we do the snog, marry, avoid question?
No, we will not. No, we will not.
We'll skip that one. All right, Sam.
I've seen that
right, question for Joel from Matt Jeffries. Joel, did you ask Jimmy if you could play up top after the goals versus Burton?
To be fair, I think I got dropped, I got dropped after. I think I remember Jimmy's extraordinary interview after, saying that, brilliant, Joel Kettle scored that trick, and then I think Jimmy mentioned a mistake I made in the game or something like that. So yeah,
we did chip a couple, didn't we? So
Yeah, so I think it wasn't the Barwell game after, and I think I was to the Barwell after.
Barwell away.
Yeah, I think
it was at Rushden at home.
Rushden.
Was it?
That was it, yeah, Rushden at home.
Yeah, it was after Christmas, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I found myself on the bench, and he chucked me on up top. So yeah, I used to be a striker. Just quickly, used to be a striker. So I know where the net is.
There we go. That explains everything. I've got a quick question for Devon from Matt Jeffries again. He says, "Have you checked on who Ronnie Corbett is, and are you taller than him?"
Ronnie Corbett. Oh, he asked me this. Is he out of Star Wars?
No, Ronnie Corbett.
I've never heard of him.
Millennials, man, millennials.
Never heard of him, so I couldn't answer because I've never heard of him.
Fair enough. I'm going to skip the next one. It's about whether you hope to be at the Boro next season. Obviously, the answer is yes. If you could sign one player for next season, who would it be and why? And it can't be a current Boro player. So if you could add someone to the Boro ranks, who would you add?
How much budget we got? How much budget we got?
Realistic, shall we say?
Oof. Yeah, you two go first. Need thinking time.
I ain't got a week.
I liked the winger from Peterborough Sports. I think he played well at the home game against them, and I think
I'm going to Google that now.
The right winger.
Yeah, his name's Dion. Yeah.
Dion, they kind of played like a lopsided wing, and they kind of left him just to do damage when he got the ball. And I think he hurt us at their place, and I think he hurt us at our place. I think he set up one of the goals with a great cross. I think the first goal. I'd like to see him. It'd be a good addition.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say former players.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what? I'd like to see Carl Baker come back. He's
got a touch of class, hasn't he? Touch of class.
Yeah, I think, and he brings the experience. And he scores goals. He brings a lot to the team, and I think he keeps himself fit. And I just think he can add so much to the team going forward next year. If you can build a team around him, I think, you'll be in the playoffs or somewhat close.
Especially at this level.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Eddie, did you get there?
No, mate, but going off what Dev said then, if someone like Bates come back to the club going from the season before, what he could do with the ball and just the way he's on the pitch, mate, he's unbelievable. So anyone like him coming back would be incredible, yeah.
Excellent. There's a question for you, actually, right?
Okay.
That tackle at Peterborough that went unpunished, did the ref say anything to you at half-time or full-time about it? And at full-time, what did you think?
He's industrial, man.
Well, when I first went down, I didn't realise what I've actually done. I was saying I thought it was just like a dead leg kind of thing, just like impact. And Jay, the physio, said to me, he went, "You're coming off." I was like, "Jay, I'm fine." And the ref said something along the lines of, "Sometimes these things happen. You win the ball, but then you catch the player." Then I looked at my foot, obviously seen my foot pouring out with blood. Full time, obviously, Peterborough Sports, they tweeted things like, "Hope the player at the minute and gets well soon," and that didn't really hear nothing off the ref. And to be fair, full time, I wouldn't have heard nothing off the ref. Obviously, the hospital from half time. So, yeah, mate, it's just one of the things in football. Obviously, my form before the injury was, I thought I was on form. I was doing really well. After, I didn't really pick up the form I'd left. So, it's one of the things in football, mate. To be fair, and just got to move on.
There's another question here from Matt Jeffries. It's addressed only for me, but I'm going to ask everyone else. What teams really grind your gears?
Villa.
What teams do we not like in this league?
Obviously, go for Tamworth because of the rivalry. You got teams like Bromsgrove. I know a lot of the lads at Bromsgrove, and when they're doing well, you can't. You just hear about it constantly through social media, text, and everything like that. Them that wants me, mate. Yeah, just for personal pride, really. Bromsgrove and Tamworth.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Redditch because I think that performance when we lost away, I think that's the worst game I've been involved in football. I wouldn't say I hated them. I just thought the way we lost to someone who hasn't won in 20 odd games. I thought it was a low point in my career, and for me personally, so I'd say Redditch.
Dave, Owen, is there anyone you dislike?
I've got one.
Go on.
I think Dave can back me up on this. It wasn't from the playing side. It was Leaston. Dave will remember
Leaston.
this, I think, most likely. We went when we went over to Leaston. It was just the way that the club dealt with. I'm not going to go into depth with it, but it was just the way that the club dealt with the situation that had happened, and I didn't really agree with it, and it just sort of annoyed me in a sense. So it was to do with the game. I think Dave will remember it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was. Joel allegedly strangled someone in the goal.
Was it that one? I don't think it was that one.
We scored.
It was that one. Sorry,
yeah. Worldie, didn't we?
Yeah, the one where the goalkeeper done a statement to say "I'll never," but the liner was adamant, and the referee couldn't get their stories together, and in the end they told me to just go away. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah,
that was
and the club claimed that damage was done or something. So, but then announced it in front of all the fans and everything. So I didn't really agree with that.
I didn't go to that one, but that would have made my list. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and the reason I've passed the book to you because it was a question asked to me. Because I looked at the league and I was looking at the teams, and I went, really don't care about any of the teams in this league, and that's a horrible thing to say. Maybe after another season in this league, I might feel differently, but I really don't care about any of them. Have we got another question? Yes, we have. I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this verbatim. We'll get to your question next. I'm going to read this verbatim because I'm not quite sure what he's trying to say. It's a question for John. Rumours are that the club wanted to put on a ladies' night next season. Are you up for leading the lads at the table? I don't know what he means, John. What does he mean?
You'll get me strung up, you lot will. That was my past life. Ryan Edmunds, I probably remember because he's known me probably the longest. But I was a chicken dipper, a little bit of little teas. back in a previous life when I was young, free and single. I wish I had the abs and the body I did as I did then, but I am off the grid. I've retired, so no ladies' night for me.
I mean, this is the reason I'm disappointed that Chris Stafford wasn't here tonight, because it was meant to be his stag do the weekend just gone, and obviously he's missed out on a stripper. And Joel, I was going to suggest that you did a little dance for him, but he's not here and we can't do that. But maybe you can, go off and do a private video at some point.
Yeah, set up a Just Giving page or a GoFundMe page, and we'll see what the numbers get to, and I'll see what I can do.
Top man. Leaves me to wrap up. Thank you very much, Dev, Joel, and Ryan for tuning in today. We really appreciate you having the time out to talk to the Boro fans, and we really appreciate all your efforts across the course of the season. It's not gone unnoticed. It's a shame we never got to see how the season would have finished, but I'm sure you guys would have all given your all when we got to the playoffs, and we'd be talking about potentially who knows where we could be at the end of the season. Cup finals, playoffs, who knows where it would have ended, but I'm sure we were on the right track. So on behalf of every Boro fan everywhere, thank you very much for what you've done for the club this year. And hopefully we might see a couple of you back, if not all of you, in years to come. Who knows what will happen. I'd also like to thank Dave and Owen for tuning in today. And for everyone else who's going to watch this at some point, if Owen's recorded it properly.
Yeah, I believe so. It says it's been going for an hour and 21 seconds, so...
Excellent, brilliant. No, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Hopefully we've answered all your questions. Hopefully we've given you a little bit of an insight into the season. Hopefully we've entertained you in some way. When the season starts again, whenever that will be, BORadiO will be back, and we look forward to
bigger and better,
supporting the Boro alongside you, bigger and better. Maybe doing more things like this. Who knows? We'll have to just wait and see. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.